definitions, and we need to identify what is the cost of this project, and what is the risk, and what is the revenue of this project. So then only they will project into the budget level meeting. So if they have allocated any budget, they can start with implementing this project. So we will calculate based on that how much headcount we required and what is the labor and non-labor things. All these things we gather and we will predict the budget. So this project we started 4 years back, and we have a couple of modules in Angular, and one module is in React, and backend side we have Spring Boot with microservices. So coming to my roles and responsibilities, currently I'm working as an individual contributor as well as leading a team with the size of 5. So I've been taking care of my stories and as well as taking care of the team deliverable stuff. Since we won a couple of modules like cost and resources, and currently we do not have any Scrum Master with us. So I'm being facilitating all the Scrum ceremonies, PBRs, reviews, stand-ups, everything. And right now we don't have any BA, and I'm kind of playing a BA role as well because I'm talking directly to the product team and getting the stories if we have any concerns or issues, community gaps. So I've been talking to business, and apart from that, I'm also participating in the DevOps activity because we do not have any dedicated DevOps guy to deploy all the applications. So whatever the modules we own, right? So if you need any deployment, I've been participating in that deployment till the production. So we'll just involve the only SRE team to just approve the build. So apart from the rest of the things, I've been taking care. So this is Kranti. So with respect to my roles and responsibilities and experience and tech stack.
Okay. So if I'm not wrong, you people are following Agile. So how do you segregate the stories, or how do you pick
No,
the
we are
stories?
following Agile. Actually.
I'm not saying if I'm not wrong, you are following Agile. I said okay. So how do you take the story, based on what factors to pick up a story?
Yeah. So if business come up with some requirement, right? So if it is very minimal, we'll create one specific story. If it is not, then we'll create an epic, and we will split that stories into respect to granular level based on that functionality. For example, if we have a grid and it has to some load some data from the backend, right? So if we consider that is the epic, so we'll create a stories on the UI side. We need to structure the grid, and we need to perform all the actions, and we'll create some of the stories designing an API and database and that interaction and integration part. So this is how we used to segregate the stories.
Okay. So and how do you pick up, randomly you pick up, or any specific stories only you pick up?
No, it's based on the capacity and the velocity, right? So, for example, in the next sprint, we have 30 points for the capacity, right? So, we will allocate some of the bandwidth for the defects and all that stuff. So, for example, 5 points will be allocated that one to the remaining 24. So, we will ask the business what are the stories you want to create for the next sprint.
Okay.
So, they will tell us. So, these are the features I want to implement in the next sprint. So, accordingly, we will pick the stories. We will ask them to create as the code before the sprint planning start.
Okay. So you got it. So coming to the backend side, which version of Java you people use?
Currently, we are using Java 8.
Java 8. Okay, fine. So can you please list down few features of that you are using in your project?
Yeah. So mostly we're working with Streams API and Lambda expression and option. And apart from that, we have some other functionalities like advantage like functional interfaces, default methods, and AD APIs. So all these things we have in the Java 8.
Okay. So you're using optional class, right?
Yeah.
So in which scenario you're using that?
So for example, before the optional class, right, we need to check that if anything is returning to some reference variable. So we don't know whether that is returning always value or not. So sometimes we need to check that if the object is not equal to null, then we have to write this boilerplate code. So this was resolved by the optional class. So we will create the return of that specific reference, and we will get that if the option object is there, then we will get it. So we can avoid some null pointer kind of exceptions.
So it is same right? We are checking if it is not null. In this optional class, we are checking if it is present or not. Both are same, right? So do we get any benefit of using optional class?
If it is null, we can do something. I think if it is if not, then we can return some default value, I believe.
Okay. No issues, fine.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a coding question. Can you share your screen?
Yeah. So can I share my any ID?
Anything. It's up to anything. You can use ID or anything.
Hope you see my ID.
It's loading, I think. Yeah, I will. See, there is an employee class. Employee has name and location.
Okay.
So you have a list of employees like 1,000 or 100, and I want the output based on the location, the number of employees present in that location. I want the output in a map. The map will the key would be the location, and the value would be the list of employees in that location.
Okay, so a list of employees, for example, some of the employees in Hyderabad.
Yeah.
So map contains Hyderabad and number of employees as well. Yeah.
said you have developed from the scratch, and yours is microservices architecture, right?
Yeah.
So can you tell me like how you are maintaining the transaction between multiple services calls?
So currently we do not have any global transaction management currently. So currently we are using only single database. So we have using the Spring transaction service for local transactions only.
Okay.
So if we need it, we can have to implement the global transaction mechanism either a Sega pattern or two-way commits something like that.
Okay. And are there any multiple service calls involved in your application?
I mean intercommunication.
Yeah, inter-service communication.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We do have.
So
We are using
how you have
Netflix.
implemented authentication in that scenarios? Like,
No, we have gateway in front of all the services.
Yeah.
Once any request coming to our any microservices, the gateway is the single point of contact to authenticate the user. So once that is done, the gateway will be delegate the request to the particular microservice.
so inter-service communication, there is no authentication happening. Like, if
Yeah,
once you
there
are
is
in,
no authentication happening. For example, we have cost service and resource service, right? So while coming to cost service, it's already there is authentication. So we are using intercommunication by using paying clients. So there is no authentication is happening over there.
okay, fine. And how authentication is implemented?
Yeah. So whenever user is logged into an application, so very first time you will enter the credential. So it will navigate to ID Anywhere, that is in-house authentication platform in the JP Morgan side.
Okay.
So once we go there, it is integrated with the RCM roles where we raise a request for our application. So it has the roles and that user will be validated, and we will while sending to ID Anywhere, we are sending the redirect to so means the user is validated, it will navigate to again our application with the token. So hereafter, I mean, yes, all the subsequent API calls, we are sending this token, whatever we have received from the ID Anywhere to the API gateway. So API gateway level itself, the token is validating to the ID Anywhere by passing the public certifications.
Okay. So do you store the token anywhere in the back end or in the front end?
No, in the front end local store, we are storing it.
No.
So every 30 minutes, it has to refresh.
Okay. So how you are validating at the back end? Then this is a valid token or not?
Yeah. So each and every API, right? Whenever we are sending API, we have HTTP interceptor. So every request is we are adding that authentication token data. So that token will go to gateway. So gateway, we are validating this token is valid or not.
Okay. Yeah. Fine. So you use Spring Boot or no?
Yeah, Spring Boot.
So can you tell me like what advantage we are actually getting out of Spring Boot?
So Spring Boot, we can create a Spring application with a production ready thing, and it has some inbuilt server like JTR and Tomcat, and it has some aggregators which will provide you some health checks and URLs and all, and it has some auto configuration mechanism also. So whenever we are mentioning anything in the form that class path, so it will be automatically get the object of that whatever the classes mentioned in the class path. So these are the advantages I can see.
Any disadvantage?
Disadvantage with respect to Spring Boot,
Yeah.
I don't see any disadvantage as of now, but there might be some disadvantages like we need to disable by default server Tomcat if you don't need it. I don't see it as a disadvantage, and apart from that, yeah, I don't think any disadvantage as per my knowledge.
Okay, fine. Can you tell me like what is the difference between hash map and concurrent hash map?
So hash map is not thread safe, and earlier we have hash table, but hash table is a thread safe. But in case of hash table, the entire hash table is locked if you do any get or put any operations. But in case of concurrent hash map, so the lock will be acquired only if you do the modifications. For get there won't be any lock is applied, and at a time there will be session thread can be applied in the single hash map, concurrent hash map.
Okay. And suppose if at all I want to use a customized class, like in our case, employee class as a key in a hash map, or what all changes I need to do?
So if you are making a key as a custom object, so we need to properly implement the equals and hash code method.
Okay. Fine. So in my hash code method, I have just written one line, return one.
Okay. Yeah.
What will be the impact of that?
Yeah. So there will be an hash collision. So each and every time we will return the same, and all the objects will be inserted into the same bucket.
Okay. Can you tell me like in which scenario you will go with patch and in which scenario you will go with put?
Yeah. So if there is only minor update, for example, we have employer class, right? For example, if we are updating only employer salary or something, so very minor, so we can use the patch. So instead of that, we have most of the fields we are updating, we can go for the put.
Okay, fine. So do you have any experience on Docker as well?
No, Karthik, Docker we don't have experience. We are using a cloud infrastructure called Gaia. So it is a JPNC private cloud, so which was built on top of Pivotal Cloud Foundry. So Gaia itself has a container. Whenever we deploy application, the Gaia container will take care of our execution. Right now, I don't have direct experience on Docker and Kubernetes, but I'm looking forward to work on those things.
Okay.
If it is public cloud, also I'm very much interested.
Yeah. In Spring Boot,
Like it, yeah.
can you tell me how we can load properties files based on the profile?
Based on the profile, right?
Yeah. Like in dev, we have dev properties files.
Mm.
In prod, we want to load prod.
Yeah, based on the profile, we set active profile. It will pick up the property file based on the environment. For example, if you have the UAT and test, right? So based on the active profile, Spring profile, it will be picked up.
Okay. So if at all there are two properties files, like sorry, if at all there is a property file which doesn't follow, like which is not application.properties, I have renamed that file as application1.properties. So will that work?
We need to configure that as a there will be one command like configuration like config custom property file, something like that. We need to configure. We need to do external configuration to recognize our property file instead of that application property file.
No. 1 minute. I'm just getting a ping. So while designing the microservices, what all design patterns you have followed?
So yeah, so gateway is the one design pattern I can say. So apart from that, reiterate design pattern we can follow, but it is not implemented in our project. And callback, that is we're using what do we call that name? Circuit breakers. Yeah. So this has to be implemented in our application. So since it is only that in-house application, so it has the sensitive data, right? So we are to do that. We are to implement those patterns in our application.
Okay.
Yeah. So I can say that gateway is one of the pattern implemented in our application.
Okay. So coming to the beans, see I have a bean, parent bean, which is a singleton scope, and inside parent bean I have defined a child bean of prototype. So when I do a get on parent, what would be the scope of child?
So child is a prototype, right?
Yeah.
So whenever the string is going to create an object of parent types, this is a default scope for a singleton. So it has to create the parent object. So that time it will look for the child type. Even though it is a prototype, it will be created as part of the parent object only. So we will lose the prototype functionality here.
Are you sure on that?
Yeah. So if you want to retain that, we need to use a proxy method or method lookup. I mean proxy scope or method lookup to retain that prototype behavior.
Okay. So in your application, what DB you have used? Like how you are connected to the DB?
So we are currently using MariaDB. So why we are using MariaDB? So in the Gaia, we have a service called offered by Gaia team is a MariaDB service. So we will create a service in Gaia and it will bind to our application. So in the configuration class, we'll get all these properties from the Gaia environment variable and it will be created. So for local connectivity, we are putting all this thing into our ML file.
Okay, so do you have any experience on Hibernate or JPA? Any other JPA tool?
Yeah, currently we are using Spring Data JPA.
Oh, okay, fine. So can you tell me what is the difference between JPA and CURD?
JPA
Like sorry, CURD repository and JPA repository.
Yeah, CURD repository and JPA repository, right? Yeah, so I'm just thinking, I'm not sure, but I'm just taking a guess on that. So if it is a JPA repository, probably we might need to write all the queries externally. If it is a CURD repository, we can use the predefined methods it has. I'm not sure, that's just guessing.
Okay, so how have you configured the Spring JPA in your application?
Yes. You're using Spring JPA.
No, how have you configured that?
I mean, in the code level, so we will create an entity for each and every table, and we will create a repository for that table. So in the table itself, in the repository itself, we will mention that our table name, and we will write queries. If we needed any native queries, we can write using ∇ query. Otherwise, we can use directly Spring Data JPA queries like find all, save something like that. Find by some property name.
Okay, so when we do find all, based on what thing it will find?
Based on what thing means, it will find the select star from, it is very equal to select star from the table. That's what I'm just thinking.
Are you sure on that it's select star from, or it will use any primary key or foreign key thing?
Primary key, anyhow it is different, but how does it matter in my select star from? I'm just thinking around it. So definitely it will get all the records, that is for sure. But so primary key,
Okay, no issues. So when we do find by one,
okay.
so in this scenario, how it will fetch the record?
Find by one means, do we need to, any method arguments we are passing or just to find by one?
No, there is a predefined method find one or find by one.
Okay. But I didn't use, but find one means, I think, in any order, I will find the first record. That's what I'm just thinking.
No issues.
the map
No, if you
itself-
have no issues. If you haven't worked, no issues. Okay.
Yeah.
So any like idea on comparator on comparable?
So comparable, it's kind of only one way of implementation sorting. So if you need multiple sorting, right, based on that username and based on that last name and first name or salary, so we can go for the comparator. We can have multiple types of sortings.
So have you used any of those, or have you written any code on that?
No, I can say I didn't write directly, so I have knowledge on that.
No issues. Fine. And can you tell me what is the difference between response body and this one at the rate REST controller and controller?
So at the rate REST controller is nothing but it has a controller plus at the rate response body. So by default it has the response body, but we don't have that in the at the rate controller.
Okay, fine. So see, there is a scenario. There are two beans, bean A and bean B, and I don't want to load bean B until and unless bean A gets loaded. So how can we configure that?
So two equals we have once that is loaded, then only it can load.
Yeah, once the bean A gets loaded, then only bean B should get loaded.
So if I request contest to get the BNJ, so can we use any different life cycle hooks for the bean post construct, and there itself we can create and return this bean other bean? I'm just thinking around it.
So if we create an in post construct, we can create an object, but it won't be considered as a bean, right? It won't get registered in the context.
Okay. So until unless bean A is requested, it will not create. That's the requirement. Right?
No. So bean A is there, bean B is there. So once the bean A gets initialized, only then the bean B should get initialized.
No idea. Need to explore.
Okay, no issues, fine. So and do you write queries?
Mostly we are using string data JPA, so in the worst case, we are using that at the rate query.
Okay.
Mostly, yeah.
Just give me a minute, 1 minute.
Yeah.
Using any cache at your backend?
We are not using any cache, Kranti, in our application. Yeah, we can write something like that. We can enable cache in the Spring Boot application itself, and we can do the things cacheable, but we have to in our application.
Okay, fine.
So whatever we are loading in the, we need any data in the while application configure itself, we are loading in the putting into UI local store.
Okay. Yeah, fine, Ravi. So one last question: do you interact with? Do you have any client, or it is your it is the ADP product?
Yeah, GPMC itself is a bank that we are doing the project for the only bank. We don't have any.
So,
we do have product owners.
So do you have any experience in your previous experience where you have directly interacted with the client?
Client means here, for example, when I start this project, I'm working with Emphasis, the client is JPMC. So I started aligning with JPMC folks only.
You're comfortable with that, right?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, no, I'm just asking.
I'm aware of that all this because I worked from Emphasis only, right?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot that. Yeah, you said that in the early physics if you were working
so
with
we started this project, 4 guys. I am among the one from the client side. Yeah. Consultant side. So later I moved to Chase.
Yeah. So one more question, Ravi. Do you do code reviewing?
Yeah. So we are using Bitbucket, Kranti. So whenever I'm done with my changes, I'll create a PR and I will include the folks who are peer reviewers from my team. So they will do the vice versa. Whenever they do any PRs, they will add me as a reviewer. I will review that and I will, if it is fine, I'll match that.
Okay. So when you're reviewing, so what all things do you check there? Do you have any checklist prepared or any such kind of things? Do you specially follow something like it should be there or it should not be there?
We do not have any three different checklist, and we'll just go through that code and we'll try to analyze it. And if it is some uncertain things, then we'll call out those things.
Okay. Okay, Ravi. Then that's it from mine. If you have any questions, you can ask.
So what kind of infrastructure, I mean, if I through, I'll be deploying some projects, what kind of infrastructure and what is the tech stack? Tech
So-
stack, I received that is a full stack developer, I understand. The infrastructure wise, is any cloud platform or
Yeah, so basically it is again, if you're in, you'll be working in a project that is from the scratch. Like application is already there, monolithic application is there, but the client is converting that into microservice architecture. So in the UI side, you'll be working on Angular. I think you mostly work in the backend side, if I'm not wrong. If there is no other round, so and coming to the technology, like we are using Spring Boot at the backend, Java 16, and we are using cloud, Azure clouds. So
Azure cloud? Okay, yeah, that's what I'm looking for actually. Yeah, that's my question.
the same, like we are using GitLab. That shouldn't be a big problem for you. It is a big Bitbucket or GitLab, everything is same. Like you just come with the code,
Yeah.
and we use Kubernetes, Docker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other question, Ravi?
Yeah, I think that's it, Kranti.
Oh, yeah.
Nice talking to you.
Okay, thanks for your time. Have a good day. Then
Yeah, thank you.